Hi, I'm Cunning Monkey and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy gaming content. Today we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed and how Ezio, one of the series' best and most loved characters, actually ruined the franchise. So, grab a coffee, sit comfortably, and just chill. Let's start with Assassin's Creed 1. Assassin's Creed 1 came back in 2007. When main protagonists were actually built different. They weren't quite complex like today, or in some cases, they didn't even speak at all. They were just a means to progress the story. They were a roller coaster, and you were riding them. Well, that didn't sound right. Anyway, Altair was that kind of protagonist. Yes, he had a voice, but he didn't really have much to say. He was just an overall boring main character with an interesting story. Now, fast forward 2 years, and we get to the source of Assassin's Creed's problem. Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Assassin's Creed 2 is considered until today one of the best, if not the best, entry to the series. Renaissance Italy was just beautiful. The parkour, the story, the atmosphere, everything was spot on. But what really made Assassin's Creed 2 stand out, however, was its protagonist, Ezio. Ezio is the most loved Assassin's Creed character and one of the most iconic video game characters ever. And to an extent, I think that is what ruined Assassin's Creed games ever since Revelations. Every time I watched a review of a new Assassin's Creed game, I just heard the reviewer note that the main character is not as good as Ezio. Why? Why compare two completely different characters? Now, I can understand the critique that the character might not be as well written or is not fleshed out, but no two characters should be the same. I think, however, that it's quite unfair to compare any Assassin's Creed character to Ezio, simply because Ezio got 3 games, whereas every other character got a single game and a small spin-off DLC or 2. You got so emotionally attached to Ezio because you were there through it all. You see his birth, you see him lose everything he loves, you see him become a seasoned assassin, and then you even see him on his deathbed, or rather his death bench. Connor got the worst of it. Connor came right after Ezio, and how can you compete with that? First of all, they tried to contain Haytham's story along with Connor's story in a single game. I think that by the time you got to really play as Connor, the game was almost over. And then you have people saying that Connor's a husk compared to Ezio. Let's take these two characters and compare them for a minute. Ezio was an Italian playboy who had enough money to go around drinking wine and regularly visiting brothels, whereas Connor was a native that lost his mother at a very young age, and all he did was provide for his community. You can't expect Connor to have the same wits and charisma as Ezio because their upbringing was completely different. What I really liked about Connor's character was his innocence. You can see that the first time he goes to Boston. He was stunned by the city and its people. He is kind, his heart is pure, even though his sole purpose is to kill the Templars. But that's for the safety of his people. He's naive at first, thinking that he alone can change the world, but then you see him change. Now, as I said, they tried to contain 2 different stories in one game, that of Haytham and that of his son Connor. That chemistry really worked for me. But imagine having a separate Haytham game. Watching Reginald Birch steal him from his father, Edward Kenway, and inducting him into the Templar Order. That not only gives much more space for Connor's story to unfold over decades, but it also makes Assassin's Creed 4 all the more interesting. Edward Kenway was also a favorite of the franchise, quite simply because he had Ezio's charms, he had humor, he had charisma, His story is quite good. You see him evolve from a selfish pirate into a master assassin. What happens after Assassin's Creed 4, however, is even more interesting. He became the leader of the English Brotherhood alongside Reginald Birch. Now, Birch was a bitch. Turns out he was a Templar all along, looking for Edward's journal. Birch sent mercenaries to kill Edward and retrieve the journal, and then he became guardian to the Kenway estate. He then sold Edward's daughter to Turkish slavers and made Haytham a Templar. Haytham, after finding out the truth, killed Birch and avenged his sister's and father's death. Now where's all that? That great and interesting story, where is it? It's just database entries or random texts you find in a game that you can easily never read. I feel that the story is rushed in every single Assassin's Creed game because they want a new setting and a new character for each game. I think that's the biggest problem of Assassin's Creed right now. I think that making a new trilogy will bring back the series to its peak. Imagine a trilogy with Bayek, for example. I think Bayek is one of the best assassins. Hell, he was the one that created the Brotherhood. Imagine having a trilogy with him and Aya. That would be really interesting. Because for such important figures to the Brotherhood and the lore of Assassin's Creed, most of their lives are actually unknown. What happened after the Hidden Ones? Unfortunately, I don't think that that's gonna happen anytime soon, since Ubisoft has already announced multiple games, and each of them is set in a different era. I still love Assassin's Creed, but I think it's not at its peak right now, and I wish that someday we will relive the glory of Assassin's Creed 2. Until then, take care.